Agent Molt in Light Duties Part 4. When Molt awoke, his eyes opened slowly, cautiously, not too sure what they'd see when fully awake. The retinue of ghosts his stubborn haunters still endured. They looked down at him as he composed himself, regarding him expectantly, judgmentally, as if daring him to try and dispel them again. He checked his scroll for messages from head office. Nothing. He checked his sending sack to see if his order of Ghost Begone spray had arrived. Double nothing. His ghost erupted in a babble of sentences, many in dead languages. The monk singing a hymn, the centurion complaining, the Viking in awe of his dragon-like appearance. Inquiries about Jinn. He tried his best to ignore them. That was the hard and fast normal rule. Ignore a ghost, tell it to sod off, and they usually did. But with whatever was going on right now, ghosts were just not sticking to the normal rules. Later, Molt stepped off the train at James Street Station, Liverpool. His stomach was wobbling but not rebelling, a small victory. The gossiping ghost gaggle trailed after him. The Liverpool docks smelled of salt, diesel, and the faint psychic tang of maritime despair, a mixture of ghost grog, coal smoke, whale oil, and mouldy rope. The dockside sump resided in Victoria Tower, a 19th century Gothic clock tower, built right on the river's edge, looming over the old dock walls. A permanent, weather-beaten landmark sailors used to navigate by. The psychic sump nested high in the clock chamber, where the river wind never quite reached. From the docks below, it looked like nothing more than a soot-black spire, but inside the tower's upper throat, the air thickened, pooling with decades of unspent thought and emotional runoff. Victoria Tower had been sealed for decades, its doors rusted shut, but Molt didn't bother with entrances. He simply scaled up the weather-scored stone, leaving his spectral shadows on the dock. He slipped into the broken clock chamber where the psychic sump pulled thickest. He placed a filter traffic cone and the sump vented. The ghost parade appeared instantly. Jinn girl, go on Jinn! Brittonic tribesman, muttering. Viking berserker, Draken! Roman bather, still naked, still waggling. Plague monk, Roman centurion, Neolithic ancestor spirit. Molt sighed. Yes, form an orderly queue. Then a new ghost emerged. A sailor in archaic garb, smelling of tar and rum, complaining before it even fully materialised. Bloody weather, bloody ropes, bloody captains. Molt cut him off. Bloody sling your hook. The sailor ghost grumbled, but steadfastly refused to blink out of existence. Crick! A crack split the dockside stone. Molt logged it. His quill was running out of ink from all the cracks. Molt took the early train out of Liverpool, the ghosts filing in behind him like a silent procession. They didn't sit, they hovered in the reflections of the carriage windows, faint and watchful, as if the glass belonged more to them than to the living. At Carmarthen, he stepped onto the platform. Warm diesel haze drifting under the canopy, blurring their shapes as they followed him through the station. As he boarded the bus for Castell Henlys, people shifted in their seats as the ghost pressed through the aisle. A shiver here, a sudden glance over a shoulder there. The kind of instinctive unease humans feel when someone stands too close behind them, even when no one is there. The Buster Crummock rattled through hills older than language, and the ghost crowded the aisle, drifting between the seats whenever the road tightened into bends. A couple of women in the seat behind talked about having a sudden craving for a G&T. Molt shivered. His ghost was subtly affecting the passengers. Not a good sign at all. By the time he began the final walk toward the Iron Age fault, the land had grown quiet, the air thick with the weight of things buried and unburied. The ghosts kept pace at his shoulders, expectant, judgmental, as though they knew exactly what waited for him among the ancient earthworks, and were only here to witness whether he faced it or fled. Castell Henlys rose out of the trees like a memory the land hadn't quite let go of. From the ridge, Molt saw the roundhouses first. Dark shapes crouched on the hilltop. Smoke drifted from their thatch, as if the Iron Age had only stepped out for a moment. The earthworks curled around them in tired rings, half reclaimed by bracken, half defiant. Tourists moved along the paths below, bright jackets flickering against the old soil, but Molt felt the older presence beneath it all, the weight of defended lives, the echo of hands that had shaped this hill long before his ghost learned to follow him. With all that had been transpiring of late, with unruly ghosts and cracking sumps, Molt had to wait until nightfall before placing the cone. The sump vented. His personal ghost parade hovered around him, now so familiar he barely looked up. Then the new ghost appeared, a Celtic warrior or bard, it was hard to tell, who immediately began shouting in Welsh, loudly, musically, aggressively. Molt held up a hand. "No estefod today, thank you," he said, attempting to exorcise the spirit. The ghost huffed and remained exactly where it was, not a snifter of looking like it was going to bog off. Crick. Another crack. Molt muttered. "At this point I'm going to need a whole new scroll just for the cricks." He spent a long, mostly sleepless night listening to ghosts arguing, singing, chanting, and asking for gin. The train lurched as it slowed into Hungerford, and Molt's stomach lurched with it. The space-time magical folding of the journey affected his old wound once again, and the ghosts didn't help. They crowded close as he stepped onto the platform, drifting through the diesel haze like they were tasting it. He crossed the short walk toward the Bear, the old coaching inn crouched at the crossroads beyond the river. Cars passed, tourists wandered, but every so often someone glanced at Molt with that faint, puzzled frown, the instinctive recoil of a person who feels a presence brushing past them, though no one is there. The ghosts followed him across the bridge in a loose procession, as if the inn had called them as much as him. The crossroads sump was tucked behind the coaching inn that had seen better centuries. Molt located an empty room and used glyph magic to gain access. He decided to catch up on some scroll paperwork, reporting his recent findings. He reiterated how he'd very much like some bloody ghost begone spray now please, and then lay down to catch up on some sleep. That night, on the inn roof, accompanied by his 9 ghost followers, he placed the cone and the sump vented. Then a new ghost erupted, a highwayman in full Georgian flair, pistols raised. "Stand and deliver!" Molt didn't even look up. "Shut up and sod off," he demanded. The highwayman simply waved his gun in Molt's face. Click. 3 slates on the inn roof sump cracked. Molt exhaled. All 10. All cracked. Brilliant. Back in his room, he rolled out his scroll to file the final report. The sending sack on the bed beside him suddenly filled out. A metal canister, department issue, labelled "Ghost Be Gone, Industrial Strength," with a note tied to it, "Stop whining, cricks." Molt hissed. Finally! He pulled the pin and sprayed. A cone of shimmering anti-spectral vapour blasted around the room. The ghosts were not happy. They swerved around the room trying to avoid him. Again, a non-typical ghost behaviour. The spray seemed less efficacious than was the norm, each spirit requiring a larger dose before evaporating. The Bretonic tribesman raged and cursed before flipping out of existence. The Viking berserker whispered "Draken" before vanishing to Valhalla. The Roman bather tried fending off the spray with his towel, and the plague monk crossed himself. Neither towel or prayers availed them. The centurion thumped his chest in salute. The Neolithic spirit brandished his flint sickle. The sailor swigged a draught of grog, and the highwayman fired off his pistols as they went. But go they jolly well did, much to Molt's relief. Molt aimed it at Gin Girl. She looked hopeful. "Got any gin?" He aimed at her face. The canister sputtered. He shook it. The canister gave a sad little pfft and died. Gin Girl remained, stroking her dead pigeon. She blinked at him. He blinked back. "Oh, for syphilis' sake!" The next morning, Molt trudged away from the crossroads, Gin Girl drifting behind him like a thirsty balloon. He was heading back to head office for a full report, probably new orders. Then he saw them. A row of cats on the station's rooftop. Perfectly spaced, perfectly still, perfectly staring. Molt froze. His brain began its usual spiral. Normal cats? Normal cats spying for homophilinus? Homophilinus pretending to be normal cats? Normal cats pretending to be homophilinus, pretending to be normal cats? Now his brain was just being silly. Then he noticed their tails. Not random, not lazy, arranged. 2 cats on the left had arched their tails together into a perfect little M, one forming the first hump, the other completing the second. Beside them, another pair pressed their tail tips into a neat O, a loop so precise it looked rehearsed. The next 2 had gone rigid, one tail straight up, the other stiffly sideways, making an unmistakable L. And the final pair, one lay flat, tail straight up like a flagpole, the other stood sideways, its tail forming the crossbar. A T. M-O-L-T. Molt hissed. That's not good. His mind raced as he ran up the side of the building to the roof. This wasn't good. Cats meant trouble, complications, escalation perhaps. Once on the rooftop, the cats didn't move, they simply stared. Molt cleared his throat. Cats made him nervous. Real homophilinus scared the crap out of him. If you're just cats, ignore me. If you're homophilinus, I come in peace. If your homo felinus pretending to be," a voice behind him said, "they're just cats, Molt. They don't understand you." Molt spun. A tall, elegant homo felinus stepped from the shadows, fur immaculate, whiskers perfect, wearing a coat that probably cost more than Molt's annual departmental budget. "Agent Molt," they purred. "You are summoned." Molt swallowed. "Summoned?" "To Catford." He winced. Better than Catman do, he thought. Transcontinental train travel magic would probably do his stomach no good at all. "You will present yourself at the Catford Market statue," the feline continued. The feline's tail curled. "Bast wishes to speak with you." Molt's stomach flipped. Not magically, just fear. "Bast? As in the Bast?" "There is only one." The cats on the roof meowed in eerie unison. The homo felinus stepped back into the shadows and vanished. The cats dispersed like a furry tide. Molt stood alone on the rooftop, trenchcoat flapping in the wind. Well, not quite alone. Ginny, his gin-obsessed spectral haunter, floated beside him, tickling her dead pigeon under its chin. He sighed. Suffering Sir Phyllis. Tomorrow he would go to Catford to see a goddess.